Mr. President, give us the authorization and we're ready to go. So that's a direct quote made by David Grusch. Check this out.
I am prepared to provide a full historical accounting to the National Security Council principals and the White House Chief of Staff, and make any supporting public statements that are authorized to help this administration move disclosure forward.
So in that message, Grusch is not just repeating his past UAP allegations. He's publicly asking very directly the White House to authorize a fuller disclosure process. Now, we know, he says he's already provided classified testimony and evidence to the intelligence community, the Inspector General, and Congress itself. And now he's prepared to identify more about those records, programs, and people involved, but under lawful presidential and congressional oversight.
Immediately to identify the records, programs, and people involved, and bring any improperly concealed activities back under lawful presidential and congressional oversight. Mr. President, give us the authorization and we're ready to go.
Grusch is basically saying that more can be revealed about the people, programs, and the records if the White House authorizes this. So let me ask you, should the president give that authorization for these whistleblowers to discuss more? Yes or no?
I mean, simply put, if the president says you can talk about it, then you should be able to talk about it if you feel comfortable to do so. The only thing that I'm kind of worried about is if they get this clearance to talk about whatever they want, they're more than likely going to talk about what they've already talked about. I mean, how much more in depth can they really get? We'll see. I mean, I hope they're granted this access. I hope everyone stays safe giving out this information when that time comes. And I hope it's good information and not just everything else that we have heard before.
When you find out what this Japanese scientist discovered about forests, you will never look at them the same way again. You may have a whole new appreciation for them, in fact. And you'll realize the way we're living now might not be optimal. So his name was Dr. King Lee, and he discovered after 2 decades of research that the forest does a lot more to us than meets the eye when we walk through it, specifically when we breathe through it. Now, everyone thought he was a quack, I'm sure, like any crazy scientist like Nikola Tesla, like they're a weirdo, they don't know what's going on, until they figure something out and all of a sudden we go, whoa, dude. So the 2 things that he discovered that are most mind-blowing is that when you spend time in a forest, it significantly increases your body's NK cells, which are white blood cells that hunt down and destroy, let's just say, unfortunate cells that you don't really want in your system. And here's the crazy part. A single weekend trip to a forest doesn't just help you for the duration of time that you're there, but it can result in a boost of NK cells in your bloodstream for up to 30 days. This is partly because plants emit phytoncides, which is this pine or cedar kind of smell, which is a aroma. It's basically essential oils you're huffing in when you're walking around. And then the crazy part, which is where it gets a little bit more, he said he proved that cities make us miserable. He ran controlled studies, the hotel test. In one famous experiment, he put city workers in an urban hotel and others in a forest hotel. Even though both groups were relaxing away from work, only the forest group showed a massive drop in cortisol, the stress hormone, and other benefits, better sleep, etc. The urban group saw no biochemical change, proving that human biology requires nature to truly unplug. And that even a fake forest helps, like essential oils and some nice, probably some trees, some plants on your desk. Maybe a bonsai tree would be good, but also walks, in a city park do still help a little bit. But this makes us wonder, when we're in a gray city skyscape, what's really going on for our cells in our body when we're not in a forest huffing in those beautiful fumes? But let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
Hey, you don't have to tell me that walking through the forest is very therapeutic, aside from the bugs. It's the only thing that I cannot stand, and it's not just all bugs. Gnats, flies, and mosquitoes. Specifically gnats and mosquitoes. Can't stand those things. Other than that, the woods are the best place in my opinion. And even the gnats I would prefer than being in a busy city. As bad as that sounds. Even just sitting on your porch experiencing the nature around your house it's awesome.
So why do aliens smell like sulfur and UFOs smell like ozone? I'm going to explain it to you. It's very simple and it's going to blow your mind. One day ufology is going to listen to me and they're going to answer so many of their questions. But until then, I'm talking to you folks. So very often when people are around, especially like gray aliens, they say that they have this overwhelming sulfur-like smell. And when they're around like craft, like flying saucers, UFO type craft, they say they smell like right after a lightning or thunderstorm, that kind of metallic ozone smell. I can explain both these. I have all of the science to back it up that I'm going to put in my long form video on YouTube, but here's just the quickie. So, and this will probably be a 2-parter too. So anyways, these beings are not gray aliens in a flying saucer. That's just what we see when they materialize here. In their native state, it's a conscious awareness that's inside of a Merkaba vehicle. Now, a Merkaba vehicle is like a thought form. It's this way to encapsulate your your conscious awareness and basically keep it coherent, because they exist in what we call locale 2, which is the quantum state, base level reality. We're in the game. We're in the physical world. They're in the non-physical world. Okay. So they're there, and to keep your coherence, keep yourself collected and together as you swim through this quantum state of information, you create a vehicle around you, sort of a craft, right? But it's a non-physical craft, but it's called a Merkaba light vehicle. And that's how you can safely and coherently travel through the non-physical, okay? It's very common. Now, that's just a consciousness in this thought form type vehicle. Now, what we do as dumb humans is we use different methods like EMPs and microwaves and these things called psionic assets, which are humans that get an altered state of consciousness using meditation, and they can actually lock on to these intelligences. And I call all this phasics. So not physics. My word is phasics. Physics is the study of the physical world. Phasics is the study of phases of reality. So these things exist in different phases of reality. But what we can do is like fishing, right? Like we use these psionic assets. They lock onto them using this sort of mind control type of a thing through resonance. And they lock onto them and they can summon them. Their word, I hate that word, but they pull them into our reality. When they do that, they have to materialize. They have to adhere to our physical laws of nature and physics, and they suddenly 3D print. And they usually fall, and then we have these crash retrieval teams that go and pick them up. And they say that the craft smell like ozone, and the beings smell like sulfur. And that's because the beings, the intelligence, had to rapidly materialize into a biological avatar for the intelligence. You know how they say that we're containers? That's a container. It's like an avatar talking to an avatar. Anyways, when it does that, it does something called off-gassing, because it had to rapidly materialize, right, into an organic, chemical structure, and it off-gasses, and that off-gas would smell like sulfur. And then the craft would off-gas, and it would smell like ozone, because instead of a biological body, it created a chemical structure of a metallic craft.
That's actually a really interesting concept. I'm not certain where he's getting all these terms from, where this is all coming from, if he's making all this up, or if he's just got some kind of inside connection that has information on all this. But overall, it's still a very interesting concept. But exorcists also say that demons smell like sulfur, so you could take that for what you will as well. Let me know what you guys think. Hey, if you're new here, I would like to welcome you to the channel. My name is Dominic, and I upload videos like this Monday through Friday, early in the morning. So if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
If you've ever thought, I could really use a 7-foot-tall robot centaur with a goat head that carries a chainsaw, well, I'm here to tell you, your dreams have just come true. So a company in Northern California, Auburn, California, close to me here in Reno, has just started selling these 7-foot-tall robot centaurs. Don't forget it's got a goat's head. And those babies can carry and use a chainsaw. This is true. This is true. So the company, Santress Robotics, if I'm pronouncing the name right, has made these 7-foot-tall centaurs with a goat's head that have 4 legs and can carry a chainsaw to help people out in just about any possible situation. I'm just telling you, if you're my neighbor and you have one of those, you'll never have a problem with me. Yeah, this is a real thing. I'm not making this up. This ain't a joke. These things are real and they're for sale now. So, if a 7-foot-tall robot centaur with a goat head on 4 legs, this one doesn't have the chainsaw yet, is something you've been looking for your whole life, now's your time, baby cakes.
I seen this robot a couple of months ago, and I cannot believe that I overlooked the name of the company that designs this centaur. The company's name is Satris. Like satyr, the mythical creature that has the upper body of a man and the lower body of a goat. Well, Satris is the female equivalent. That totally went over my head. I recognize now because the last time that I played a video with one of these things in it, people brought that to my attention in the comments. Overall, it's still a very, very sinister looking machine. I'm sure it's useful and handy in a lot of certain situations, but man, they made that thing look super menacing. And out of curiosity, I looked up the price for these units, and there's no official price yet, so I do not think that they're for sale. Not that I'm interested, I was just curious on their overall cost. But let me know what you guys think of one of these robots, and would you have any use for it?
Okay, wait a minute, because I'm tripping out right now. Because Ready-Wip was already a Mandela effect for me. It was never spelled R-E-D-D-I. It was always spelled R-E-A-D-Y in my timeline. But I feel like this happened in real time with the whip part. When was it spelled W-I-P? Because I remember tripping out about the ready part and not the whip part, because I remember it was spelled normally. I'm tripping out because now it's W-I-P instead of W-H-I-P. So what timeline are you guys from? Do you remember Ready-Wip being spelled R-E-D-D-I? Or do you remember it being spelled the regular way? And do you remember whip being spelled W-I-P or W-H-I-P? Let me know in the comments, and TikTok this for entertainment purposes only.
I'll be completely honest, this one's not necessarily for me because I've never heard of Ready-Wip or have used Ready-Wip before. So I do not know if there's been any kind of Mandela effect changes. So if you are familiar with it, please let me know.
Well, this confirms it. Next Generation is absolutely cooked.
Kentucky is Convecchi, Indiana is Inolano, and Tennessee is Tunisio.
This is an AI-generated US map given to students at a school in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's not only misplaced certain cities, but it's renamed entire states. Instead of Louisiana, it's Lukgong, Alabama is Alatom, and Kentucky is Veneki. Grew up in the state of Veneki.
Mom, did you know that we live in Veneki?
Bro, the kids were even learning about a territory between Canada and Washington called Beehive. Now, to make matters worse, the map was only one part of a whole agenda book given to students, which the parents had to purchase. And this booklet also included things like a periodic table with non-existent elements, and the existing elements were given incorrect values. It also had a solar system chart where Mars was just nicknamed Mark, and they put a little flare on Saturn to rename it Saturn. So to be clear, the person or team that AI generated this book either didn't even flip through it before handing it out to students, or perhaps worse, they did check and they didn't even realize anything was wrong. Either way, somebody about to be fired.
That is absolutely diabolical. The fact that not even the teachers providing, well, technically, the parents are the ones that purchased these books, but it was a recommended book from the school, so the school didn't even have any insight on this. There's a whole bunch of mess going on with this one, and I am sure that other schools across the country are going through the same problem. My big thing is, why are we creating new books when we already have pre-existing books that need no updating? I'd get if maybe there was some minor updates here and there, but to have an overall new book with what's supposed to have the same information that we already have in previous books, that doesn't make any sense. At this point, it's almost as if the school system is just determined to set your children up for failure. Man, I really hope this kind of stuff gets corrected quickly.
Why is there some really weird craft floating above a Texas explosion? Before we get into it, I already used an AI checker to see if it was AI. Not only is the video real, Grusch even said it was real. And this craft is shooting something from under it. Unrelated. We've had a whole lot of, factories and food processors just blow up the last few months and the last few years. Now, clearly, it's way too high to be a light pole, so don't even try. And right here is a still shot from that. Of course, it's really grainy, but again, this was also detected and said not AI. So it's all of it is not AI. What do you think it is? And just a quick FYI, the way these AI detectors work is because AI videos, when made, have microscopic branding in the pixels of the videos and the photos. This is very strange and completely unrelated from all of these explosions we've been seeing for so long. Time to go look through videos of old explosions, I guess, right?
I've already seen this video a couple of times now, And I've looked into what it could possibly be. I've looked to see if fire departments had their own type of drones, maybe even wildlife drones. I cannot find anything in regards as to what that is and what's underneath it. It does look like a drone, but what is the long thing underneath it? The only thing that I can theorize it to be is a long hose connected to a water bladder so that it could spray water at a greater distance. That's my only guess as to what it could be. And I even had people in my comments that did not really even have a response for it. Again, I still believe it to be a drone with a hose, even though it looks very odd, but that's really my only guess. If anyone out there is watching this that knows what it is exactly, please leave a comment letting us know.
Before we decide if something is conscious, you have to prove that you are, and this has become a serious problem. For a while, psychologists had tests that they thought would prove that something is conscious, like the mirror test. However, as more and more creatures begin to pass them, well, we have to move the goalpost. This has become a pretty serious problem, and it's why you'll never find answers to if something is sentient or if something is conscious. Even if we somehow did make an AI that qualified as conscious, no one would accept it because we don't have tests to demonstrate it. We don't have tests to demonstrate anyone is conscious. Now, consciousness has two definitions, which also increases some of the confusion around this. The medical one is alert and aware, and we can kind of test for that, not all that well, but you can look at a brain scan and EEG, look at brain waves, and decide if somebody is qualified to be conscious, and that goes wrong too. The other one is philosophical, and that one is much more complicated, because how do you decide if something has a concept of self? Researchers found recently that fish passed this test. They can recognize themselves in a mirror rather than accepting that, oh, clearly fish are conscious. No, they decided it's not a very good test. Some people, a good number of people are mad at me for referencing that one. I don't know if fish are conscious, because I don't know if anyone is conscious. There is a cheeky little side of science where engineers try to create AI that technically passes the qualifications for consciousness, like the mirror test, even with inner speech. What qualities do I have? What qualities does the mirror have? Well, therefore, I'm seeing myself in the mirror. No, not enough, because nothing could be enough. Another idea has been delayed gratification. This is the classic marshmallow test, where if you see if a child will wait to get 2 marshmallows rather than eating the one in front of them. And until you're about 7 years old, you don't consistently pass this, and some dogs pass. But you know who passes the marshmallow test? Cuttlefish. Yes, if you take our little cephalopod friends and offer them perhaps a better shrimp, rather than having a shrimp in front of them right now, they'll wait. They can also recognize shapes and what they mean. There are a lot of issues around this when it comes to creatures that shouldn't have any form of consciousness, seeming to display qualities that we associate with human cognition. Like plants being able to recognize kin, or being able to see other plants or objects by sight and mimicking them. Yeah, the mimic plant. There's also forms of communication that we would not have expected from things like plants, but we certainly can't consider plants conscious, right? Right? Or why not? Because I don't have a good answer to that either.
I personally do not think that the mirror test is a great way to see if something's conscious or not. It may be a good way for a lot of things, but maybe fish, for example, not necessarily a great thing. One, you can be stupid and still be conscious and not be aware of what you're witnessing because you're just that dumb. It's a real thing. But there's other forms of being conscious. And I think fish are a good enough example to prove that, because they want to live, they want to breed. There is motives behind it, and maybe some people would call that instincts, but that instincts comes from somewhere. And if you look up the definition of consciousness, it is the subjective inner experience of perception, thought, emotion, and self-awareness. And that's where I think there's this line that a lot of scientists have a hard time crossing, because they're looking for that form of self-awareness. And I would be willing to say that anything that has a heartbeat, and even plants, have a form of self-awareness. There's always this drive to continue forward, whether that's through seeding from plants or breeding from animals and people. I feel like that all falls within the line of consciousness. And I think there's a lot of people that have a hard time coming to the realization that there is a lot of things out there that has a conscious state, and that there's a blend of instincts and consciousness. I do personally believe that they go hand in hand. You're born with natural instincts, but your consciousness is what sets your determination and goals for those desires. That even if it is an animal, that it still has feelings or emotions and desires, but just in its own ways. Let me know what you guys think about consciousness and whether certain animals, maybe even plants, have it or not. It'll be really interesting to hear what you have to say on this one.
This looks like the middle of winter, except this happened near Mexico City on August 1st, in the middle of summer. A massive hailstorm hit parts of Mexico City, leaving streets buried under so much ice that it looked like a massive snowstorm swept through the area. Is anyone else starting to feel like we're living Geostorm in real life? Like, what is going on with our weather lately? And why is nobody talking about it?
Now, I am not familiar with Mexico's weather. I did look it up, and it does say here in August it is their rainy season, and hail can be a part of it. But that's a lot of hail, so if anyone's familiar with Mexico, does it ever hail like that often? Or at least during August or in that part of the season? Because it just looks like a straight up snowstorm went through there.
Facts about Earth that do not seem real. Our planet is struck by lightning around 8 million times per day. That is 6,000 times per minute. And one of the weirdest phenomenons that our Earth has given us with lightning is ball lightning. Ball lightning is described as a glowing ball that comes during or after a thunderstorm or directly after a lightning strike. And scientists have been studying this phenomenon for centuries. The reason why they've been able to study this for centuries is because thousands of people in the last couple hundred years have witnessed this firsthand, with some of the strangest stories, and who knows if they're reliable, saying that there are a ball of lightnings coming through their windows, their doors, and even their chimneys. But as recently as last year, a Canadian couple actually filmed what looks to be like ball lightning happening on their farm for about 23 seconds before disappearing in front of their eyes. The caveat here is that all different types of scientists, from physicists to meteorologists to atmospheric scientists, agree that this is a real and natural phenomenon. The problem is, we don't know what causes it, but there are some theories. One of the more prominent theories has to do with Earth's soil. Essentially, when a lightning bolt actually hits the ground, it can kick up and vaporize elements like silicon. And once that vapor actually chemically reacts with the oxygen in the air, that can create a ball of heat and energy. Another theory involves plasma bubbles. Lightning can be so strong of a force that it creates an electromagnetic energy that thus could be temporarily trapped in a plasma bubble, thus creating the ball. And at Germany's Max Planck Institute for Plasma Physics, this is something that they have studied personally before. Essentially, what these physicists do is they generate plasma balls with an electrical charge over water. And once they pull the plug for the electrical charge, they're able to study how these spheres of plasma form and how they remain glowing even when there is no electrical charge. Even though scientists of all different kinds agree that this is a real and natural phenomenon, and after centuries of instruments collecting data on this and numerous sightings on ball lightning, this is still one of the strangest phenomenons that happen in our atmosphere.
Ball lightning sounds terrifying. I have never seen ball lightning before in my life. I have only heard about it and seen some videos online. But the simple fact that you could be going through a lightning storm, and then next thing you know, down your chimney comes this ball of lightning just causing havoc amongst the house, that just sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen. I'm glad it's super rare, because that would be an That would be a very terrifying life to live, knowing that after every thunder and lightning storm that there's going to be just orbs of lightning just traversing the land for a little while. Actually sounds like a really good movie concept.
Hey, hold on a second. Did you guys hear what Amazon was just revealed to be doing? And the only reason we know this is because someone decided to get clever, and they had a hunch, and they put an air tag in a certain product, in a certain package, and it went to a certain place. Listen to this story, man, because this, especially from me, because I have ancient books. You guys know I have books that are like 200 years old. So hearing this is shocking. An investigation by the independent tech outlet 404 Media revealed that Amazon is running a secret operation codenamed VGT3 in Las Vegas that buys, scans, and destroys rare books to train its artificial intelligence models. I wanted to double check that this is completely legit. And yes, this is Google's AI of all things. That is quite ironic, isn't it? But mainstream news is also covering this now. It's just breaking in the last 24 hours. And the fact that their logo has a T-Rex devouring, or he's grabbing onto this book, they're not really hiding it, or they're hiding it in plain sight. So, journalists uncovered the program by hiding an Apple AirTag inside of a rare, obscure book that was part of a massive 1,000 book order on the marketplace Biblio. They tracked the package across several states until it reached its final destination, an Amazon warehouse complex in Las Vegas, Nevada. But the problem is, they don't just scan the books. To scan them efficiently, they have to cut the spine off. And then boom, bang, bang, the book's destroyed. So the reason they're doing this, they say, is because books published before 2022 contain zero AI-generated slop, which is vital since training AI on other AI data degrades the model's quality. So I guess if AI was just teaching itself, it would end up just being unfavorable. Again, as someone who has several really ancient books, this story hits close to home, man. This just makes me want to increase my ancient rare book collection, to be honest.
That is very sad and very concerning, because once they destroy all physical books and then they stop selling physical books, then that means that history can literally be altered through digital media. And they could be saying that this is to train AI, but who's to say that it's not an ultimate scheme to get rid of history or to be able to alter history in a certain way? And I really do not see why they have to destroy these books. I've seen the process of this being done, and it is a cutting mechanism that cuts the spine of the book, and then it just feeds the paper of the book through a scanner. But there's also other companies out there that has a split scanner which takes the book in an upright position, splits it open normally like as if you're reading it, and then has a scanner that goes down the spine and then pulls the page up and scans it. Doesn't destroy the book. Why are we not using that if we want to use these books to train AI, if that's the excuse that we're using? I just don't see the need to destroy old books. And I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I really wish that I had a bigger house, or a house that had a dedicated room to make into its own library. Because I do believe collecting not only just history books, but all books that you have interest in right now, you should probably invest in the physical copies, so that you have them to always remember and know what's been changed when future events or future content differs. So I would agree, right now is the time to buy physical media or physical books before they all become destroyed and become relics of the past that no one can really get their hands on. Hit up all your thrift stores and all your libraries that are doing mass sales.
This 16-year-old boy has spent the past 5 years living in a pond because when he tries to leave, his body begins to burn. This is Iqbal from West Bengal, India, and since about the age of 11, he has been eating, sleeping, and living almost entirely submerged in this pond. His neighbors say that they regularly see him floating there from morning until night. Now, he says that he does this to avoid pain because every time he steps out of the water, he gets this unbearable burning sensation on his skin. But despite his family trying everything from hospitals to local healers, no one can figure out what the problem is. However, recently after a clip of him casually eating snacks in his pond went viral, a wealthy businessman decided to reach out and offer to pay for his medical expenses to review his case. So now he is being airlifted to Mumbai and admitted to a hospital for special treatment. So hopefully they can figure out what the problem is. And of course, I'll keep you guys updated.
I really hope we get an update on this one, because that's kind of miserable, but also kind of nice to just be in water floating around. Not the burning skin aspect after getting out of water, of course. But just being in water living your life actually sounds kind of pleasant. Maybe if the water was a bit cleaner. But hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? But I am very curious as to what's causing this burning sensation when he's not submerged. To be continued on this one.
Yo, Usher was just recorded shape-shifting, like no bullcrap at all. So let's dissect this thing real quick. Watch this dude's eyes. We're gonna slow it down in a minute too, like really, what? Yo. This is real, this is his concert. This is really him. When these artists say that something takes over them when they're on the stage, they are not lying. We've heard it over and over again. Jay-Z's Rain Man. Nicki Minaj's Roman. By the way, the demon Roman has been passed to celebrities for years and years and years. Now look at this picture. This is straight from the video, no alterations whatsoever. But back to Roman. Hold on, I got mosquitoes singing in my ear. Conspiracy mail going out this week. If you want to join, say Mail Club in the comments. By the way, pretty sure that Roman went from Lil Kim to Nicki Minaj to Cardi B. Usher got the lizard spirit.
Aside from the concert footage looking like it was shot in the early 90s, Usher has some very odd performances that he likes to do to women on his stage. I was not aware that he actually pulled women up on his stage and like basically made out with them. It's very cringy. One of the viral clips going on right now is actually a woman rejecting him as he's approaching to give her a kiss. It's very cringy stuff. Honestly, I'm surprised that he's bold enough to do something like that. But as far as the shape-shifting goes, I mean, yeah, I see the eyes kind of doing the shape-shift, but I don't know if that's just due to the quality of the video or if maybe he actually is just a snake, because some of the stuff he be doing is very slithery. Let me know your take on this one.
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. And as usual, I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm doing my best. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday. And if not, have a good day anyways.